If you're watching this video, most likely you want to design the funnel for your B2B SaaS startup. I've designed more than 100 different sales funnels for startups in all different niches, and in this video I'll share some of my key learnings about how to make this one work. So the first thing is you will not design and create a successful cash flowing B2B SaaS funnel simply by watching YouTube videos. Sad reality. The only way you build one is by doing a ton of experimenting and testing across different niches. So there are a few components you need to get right to achieve a successful B2B SaaS funnel. One, you need to have the right ICP. Then for this ICP, you need to be attracting them through the correct channel. Then you want to be getting their attention with the right message. And when all these components work cohesively and together, only then the things start working. Imagine I just start to sell different manufacturing solution, which is only relevant for example, for different logistical centers which are about to be built. And then I do cold email. Well, I cannot effectively cold email the list because I cannot build a lead list of people who are about to open the center. That's why you need to be thoughtful about picking the right channel for your startup. So if you're operating a demand creation type of offer, you can get the lead list. If you're operating a demand acquisition type offer, then you need to be relying on the acquisition mechanisms such as ads, referrals, in SEO, and so on. Again, couple elements which you need for a successful funnel design: channel, message, and ICP. Initially, when you're below 50 customers, you don't have your ICP dialed in yet. And that's why you want to test 3 buyer personas before you stick to one. So whichever channel you pick, please be thoughtful about it, because you want to identify, okay, which channel is the most obvious way for me to reach my ideal customers. For many startups operating in B2B SaaS, it would be cold email and LinkedIn, simply because most likely their leads can be reached through these outbound channels. Sometimes we also add cold calling and LinkedIn ads and SEO, but primarily initial outbound channels have always been LinkedIn outbound plus cold email. So you come up with a hypothesis, okay, who are the top 3 people, buyer personas, who would be stupid to reject my offer? And then you test them. You come up with the channel which is the most obvious way to reach them. And you imagine if we're working on a solution for some digital marketing agencies, okay, they're all on LinkedIn, so it makes sense to use LinkedIn with LinkedIn ads plus cold email. And this would be the 3 channels I would use to test a solution for marketing agencies. The reason why is because you want to pick the channel through which you can reach a ton of people belonging to your addressable market, and this way it would just make sense. Now for messaging, you need to A/B test different types of value proposition before you stick to one. And especially if you closed less than 50 customers, you do need to continue testing and experimenting with your messaging and your copy in your outbound. Why I love cold email is because cold email is one of the best mechanisms for rapid validation of your ideas. You can have an idea to sell your product differently on Monday, and on Thursday you can already be reaching hundreds of people and seeing, okay, what are, for example, value proposition 1 versus value proposition 2, and you see which one is getting more responses. Thanks to running A/B tests like that, you're able to find product market fit much quicker. When designing your funnel, you want to make sure that you have enough people coming in, because that's the most common issue I see people make. They say that, oh, I tried cold email, it doesn't work for our startup. I tried LinkedIn, it doesn't work. And then I check their volume, and in reality, they would just do like 100 or couple hundred cold emails, and then they would write maybe 20 to 50 outbound messages on LinkedIn. I mean, what are these volumes? It's nonsense. When doing cold email these days, we're looking at a minimum sample size of at least 300 people opening the email. So usually with 50% open rate, we want to reach 600 people per each value proposition that we want to test. And with each startup I work with inside SaaS Camp, we are A/B testing 3 to 5 versions of the value proposition in our cold email campaigns before we stick to one. So please be mindful about the volume you're doing, because the minimum sample size for cold email is 250 people opening the value proposition example. And if you do minimum 3-4 value propositions, that means we want to have 700 to 1000 people opening them, and usually this would be 2000 emails. And only by sending 1500 to 2000 emails, you would be able to say, okay, on this persona, this type of offer does not work or works best. The second main reason why people cannot have a cash flowing SaaS funnel is because they are not doing enough testing. And that's exactly why you hear me always bring up, we do 3 variations of copy here, then a couple variations of CTA there. Because if you don't do enough testing, you're always limited in your data. And one of the best ways you can build out a competitive edge against larger companies, imagine you build a CRM for realtors, okay? Salesforce has got $100 billion in revenue. You don't yet. How can you gain more? How can you build a better product than Salesforce for this niche? Well, because if Salesforce decides to build some branch of their product and design it towards this consumers, in your case, you can have an idea to test this buyer persona again. Monday, you can have messages be sending in a few days, and you can have 20 to 50 conversations within just few weeks. For Salesforce, just the decision-making process behind this is going to take 6 months, if not longer. And this means you can test 5 hypotheses within 3 weeks, then pivot or double down on one of them, and then do a couple more iterations within a few months. And for enterprises, it takes so much longer. And this is exactly how testing allows you to gain a competitive edge in your market. So it's volume, it's testing, and lastly, the third crucial element of lead flow design is focusing on the right things. Because you can be doing a ton of testing, you can do it at a decent volume, but unless you're focusing on the right things and paying attention to the right metrics and thinking in the right spectrum, you can invest years knocking on the wrong channel. Or imagine, for example, there is one solution for creating logos and logo creation maker. And I made a mistake of trying to sell it through outbound for too long, whereas in reality, when we tried inbound acquisition channels and this demand acquisition mechanisms, this worked out way easier, and the startup has started growing much faster. It takes experimentation to find out things like that, but if only I learned about the concepts of demand creation, demand acquisition mechanisms, and offers sooner, then I wouldn't have spent initial few months knocking on the channel that clearly would not be reasonable for this type of solution. That's why I invest tens of thousands of dollars in coaching, because I, with my scars and experience, now understand that if I was growing this, like I did work on and build out a couple SaaS products, is just as I've always been operating on a super small volume, not testing enough and not focusing on the right things, they didn't work out that successfully. And now when I today understand this hypothesis and understand what goes into successful lead flow design, I am able to save a lot of time, sometimes months or even years, for different SaaS founders who are unsure how exactly to get their SaaS to the next milestone. So you do need another pair of eyes usually to understand what are the things you need to be focusing on, or you gotta train your zoom out skill, which would be asking you and reflecting, okay, what am I currently doing? Does this even make sense? And only through reflection like this, and usually it's much easier to achieve by getting coaching from someone, you are able to then focus on the right things. So to successfully design your funnel, couple components: you need the right buyer persona reached through the right channel, through the right, using the right message. The way you find out these three is by doing a ton of testing. And now these are a part of lead flow design. So what I do when I design lead flow for companies is I look at the volume they're doing, the amount of testing they're doing, and the type of things they're paying their attention to. When you bring on these two worlds together, then you get more leads than you can handle and start growing by faster than you have projected previously. I've got a couple more videos on the way we design funnels for different startups, and here I will link basically the video in which I broke down what is the back end of my own company SaaS Camp and how we have designed our funnels to be averaging tens of calls every single week. Appreciate you watching this one, and see you soon.